Vue.js, AngularJS, and React are all libraries which allow you to take your user interface, separate it into components or little snippets, rather than having one big applications which takes multiple components, multiple responsibilities, multiple UI features and bundling all together. Basically, it allows you to have better organization. So just as in the backend, we have already had proper patterns for code organization, these libraries are taking these patterns for code organization, which are very basic, which means give responsibility to something, give responsibility to some UI component, and encapsulate it. This is one of the foundations and the basics of software development. So these frameworks start from there, and then they build on it, on top of it, and add additional features. Practically, you have these libraries. You also have Vanilla.js, where you could incorporate this pattern as any software development pattern of componentization and the organization of code, such as it would be better to maintain it and easier to maintain and grasp and understand it. Angular is more of a framework or even a platform. It is very opinionated and already gives you all the infrastructures. It tells you how you should write your test, how you should organize your folders. It's built-in router and HTTP client. Basically, it tells you you want to develop UI. I have it all sorted out for you, and I will tell you how you should build it. Basically, I will tell you which software development methodologies you should use. For example, I will tell you that you should prefer to use TypeScript because it's a better language. You have more software assurance. Of course, any language is better for the purpose, but for the purpose of a more complex code bases, then TypeScript can serve you better because of the additional restrictions and ability that you would have. Vue is the simplest to practically get started and using. I think all of them are complex. Eventually, any technology is complex because you need to understand it and need to get into the hang of it and troubleshoot the problems that will occur. So all technologies are problematic. The differences might be how much you need to start learn initially and how much gradually. In Vue, you could start with basically one line. In React, it's going to be a little bit more complex because although it's saying that it's like including one line, it's not really like this. You will probably want to use the JS6, which is a combination of HTML and JavaScript, while in Angular you are using practically the standard HTML and the standard JavaScript or TypeScript. Also in Vue, it's more like a standard HTML JavaScript. In React, you do have this glitch of the need to use the JS6, which is a combination of JavaScript and HTML. However, React is the most popular framework in all terms, in job searches, in Google Trends, in NPM downloads. No doubt that React has won at least this phase. But all frameworks are pretty popular. Angular is also popular, Vue.js is popular, Vanilla.js is popular, other frameworks are popular, and Svelte is also popular. Basically, in all frameworks, you write some more of a specific code. For example, curly braces, and the framework would analyze this code and kind of translate it, read it, and transform it into reading data or including your components. Angular is being maintained mainly by Google, React is by Facebook, and Vue is more of a community driven project, while Angular has a release every like 6 months. In Vue, you can just include a script tag and start saying according to the documentation curly braces message, and this would print the message object out of your definitions. So basically, as we said, JS6 might appear a little bit strange at first because it's a combination of HTML and also JavaScript, while in both Angular and also in Vue.js, you just start with more like simple TypeScript and standard JavaScript. When comparing the performance of them all, then I think it would be wise to say, because all of them are heavily maintained, heavily used, that the performance of them all is just going to be great, and if not today, then it's continuously improving. That is probably not something to consider. It's probably heavily dependent more on how you structure your application, on how you build it, rather than the performance of the framework itself. The popularity of the frameworks is that React is today on top, then Angular, and then Vue.js and Svelte, and maybe that Vanilla.js is the first one. They are all evolving. And adding new features. And I don't think that you could even say that one is more complex than another, because Angular just lays out everything for you. It just tells you, here's the deal. If you want to really seriously develop multi-team application in UI, then you need to do testing. You need to have the routers. You need to have the HTTP client. So here they are all. You need to learn it. And this is how you use the application. In React, you more like add the components one by one. You start with the basic library, which is minimal, and then you add on top of it additional libraries such as routing. This is both good because it allows you to start with a more minimal library and then add on top, but it's also bad because then you need to start searching and see what the community is using today, and this might change, while in Angular you already have all of this straightforward laid out for you. Vue is more like a community-based develop applications. So also there you start from something which is more clean and add to it, on top of it, additional libraries. However, I think that if you don't know any of the libraries, then for a personal project, Vue might suit you better, or even Vanilla.js, but maybe Vue because it really allows you just to add a script tag and then add some code to it, although not the most popular if you're looking at it as learning a UI framework that you will in most chances use in your next job. Then best bet would be either React or second place Angular. It's most probably going to be just React. So this was a brief summary and comparison mostly between Angular, Vue, and React. They are all trying to solve the same problem, basically giving you patterns to organize better your code base for the UI, which you could do by yourself or get the help of these libraries together with community shared components that are being publicly exposed as NPMs in the internet, but all are great frameworks, or are evolving, or are having a good performance with a minor disadvantage of popularity to one or complexity to another. But I think that eventually when you develop a whole application, then the whole thing becomes very complex. So you might start with the complexity in the beginning in a very opinionated way, which could be good with Angular, or start from scratch and build your opinions on top of it, as is done on React and Vue. I would say the best bet today for the future would be React. For personal projects, the best bet could be Vue.js or Svelte. And for more of a multi-team, maybe heavily developed application, it could be Angular. And we didn't even mention Flutter. It's a rather new technology. It could also be good for personal projects, but I think as of today, the web frameworks are doing a better job unless you're trying to develop a native application. So I think this was very interesting, and see you next time.